All right, we've got a time for a couple of questions or contributions, not just questions and so on. So maybe anything from my left-hand side, any questions? If not, I can take the first one. Right. So I think in terms of the stories were really inspirational, and the journeys that you've taken to get to success. But if you summarize everything, what is the biggest lesson learned? Now I'm going to, because Eloise said she's going to face all the difficult questions, what is the biggest lesson learned from your side for your social enterprise?
Am I working? Sorry, I've not functioned.
That's technology. When we want that to work, it is not.
Shall I talk anyway, or shall we wait?
Anyway.
What do you like to do?
You can talk. Yeah.
Okay. So, I think the thing I've learned most is about really, God, there's so many things I've learned. I think the thing I'd like to say I've learned most is that you can hone your product with the people who are buying it, and that idea of co-creating and co-formulating what is needed and what people want, and trusting people to help you work out how that product or how that service needs to be. It's a really, really useful way, and I know, and that kind of idea of making things with people that are for the people, you know, whether that's a development of iPhones and how you can personalise them, or how apps have developed, or how marketing has developed. It's really, really useful to follow that lead and to actually, as I said in my piece, ask for help, but ask people what they like, and really listen to their feedback, and really try and synthesise that down into developing your products further.
Okay. Alistair, can you, from your side?
I guess it's about collaborations. I've got a background in the public sector, and it's all about partnership and stuff. And actually, when you step out into the private sector, or social enterprise sector, it's exactly the same. And the strength of collaborations is key. And I think there's a fantastic quote from a chap he's an ex-Labour MP who's really advocated the whole feed-in tariff has driven sort of solar and wind kind of energy, and is a key subsidy kind of element of our business model. And he says that community energy, it's not a rave, it's a tango. You can't just stand in a room and bust shapes by yourself. You've got to get together and dance difficult steps with people that you wouldn't normally dance difficult steps with. And that's definitely the case. In this, we have to collaborate British Gas with installers, with commercial finance. We're looking at working with shared ownership schemes. We're looking with partnerships with commercial developers. So I guess that's it. It's not a rave, it's a tango.
Yeah. What strikes me is everybody in the panel actually indicated the journey that you followed. And yes, other people's money and other people's infrastructure and other people's knowledge being the core of successes as well. But if I think about you're very inspirational what you're doing. But if some person is still on the edge, they not on the social entrepreneurship side, they still on the thinking side, what would you suggest to such a person? Where do you find inspiration? What can you do to move in the right direction? Gareth?
I think certainly for me, the key step for me was to go out and meet people doing a similar thing.
Yeah.
So when I volunteered at a project up north in Sheffield, it was an opportunity to meet a group of people with similar like-minded thinking, and they could give me some advice and some direction, and then just to take that information that you've learned and just commit and go for it. And what's the worst that can happen? You'll end up back where you started.
Yeah.
That's good.
Claire, can you add to that?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely that. It's about getting out and meeting other people and having those conversations. But also, I think it's fundamentally having real faith in what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it and not giving up at the first hurdle, because there'll be many more hurdles.
Yeah. It's interesting, in May last year we had a conference, and just reflecting what you're saying, talking to people, there was a nice sign in a restaurant saying, there's no Wi-Fi, talk to each other. And maybe we need to rediscover how to discuss things at the end of the day and rely less on just the technology issues as well. But Gabi, what you and Lindsey referred to is a business modeling that allows some people to come in and you manipulate the system again to create other products and services, although there's always bread. So how are you doing that, Gabi?
Well, partly it's what Ellie was talking about, is that you seek feedback from your audience and look at what they like, look at what they don't like, and adapt to fit that. But also, I mean, we've been making a lot of changes over the past couple of years, and one of the things that we're doing is trying to get our artists more involved, because we found we were at a stage where there was a culture of, I don't like this, or I think we should be doing this. So our response is now, well, okay, let's do that then. If that's what you want, we'll form a group and we'll look at how we do it and we'll do it. And I think that makes people, because obviously we're quite different, we're not sort of making a product and selling it, we're providing a space. So we have to get people to participate in that, to join in, and to make it what they want it to be, because without our artists, then there's no point in Flameworks. So it's all about them and how they interact, really.
Lindsey?
I suppose I think the thing that, I think we have a sort of slightly weird thing in this country about business, and somehow it's a sort of, it's a thing, and it's quite often a thing over there that somebody else does. And I suppose a lot of what I find most exciting is, lots of people have said, is really it's sort of interest, aptitude and passion. You know, what are you excited about? What are you reasonably good at? And what is the thing that is going to keep you doing it over and over again, even on those days where it's really, really hard? And actually, if you can, if different diverse groups, I suppose that's the other bit, actually the things that work really well are where you meet somebody who's got a different skill from you, or a different perspective, or says something really exciting, interesting that you've never thought of before, and you're able to go, oh, okay, so maybe we join a little bit of that with a little bit of something I've maybe thought of and something else over there, and somebody else might want to buy that or pay for it. Well, okay, that's a business, great, fantastic. And it's, but I think there's a lot of mythology somehow that you have to do it in the right way.
Yeah.
And I suppose my experience is you don't, you just sort of get on and do, and provided you get on and do and you keep at it and you keep listening, you keep working with each other and you keep co-designing, you can come out with something that's sort of successful. If you think you're going to sit there and design a business and then somehow off the paper it's going to magically lift itself up and transport itself forward, I don't know anybody.
And so again, the journey there will be successes, there will be failures, and that makes life. But Brett, you and Gareth also referred to do that you like. Well, create a business around your energy around some stuff that you really love. Why have you really started that? It is easier to work for somebody else, Brett.
Yeah, I think Gareth said though, just commit. And I was interested about, I think you can, you can model your business plan to your heart's content. You can never model away the risk. You've just got to jump in and suck in the sea and see how you go. And it is useful to have some aptitude to what you do. I think the passion is important as well. And this is what social enterprise is such a good space to do this in, because you can do good things through what you do as well.
And latching on to what everybody said about a passion, one person said with 100% passion and a 10% idea, you will be successful at the end of the day. 100% idea, 10% passion is failure. But from a service provider side, what can we do to inspire others with these inspirational stories? Sarah?
It's this sort of thing. It's the lessons, it's the stories that we tell that are the most inspiring thing we can possibly come across. We can read textbooks, we can talk to students, but until they hear the stories from other people, it doesn't bring it to life. It's the stories of power behind social enterprise.
Gareth?
I think it's just got to get this stuff in more into the public domain. I just think there's social enterprise is still a bit niche. There's some fantastic stories here. We need the world to find out about that. And you've all seen the in America, Etsy, which is one of the biggest internet platforms for craft sellers. It's gone public. It's a social enterprise in America, and there's a big debate about will investors like that or not. Who will win out the battle of social finance and investment? Well, actually, it can be both. And we've got to disrupt things. We've got to change things. So what I've taken away from here is everyone here is talking about really quite radical changes. Community energy, talking about bikes, food, how you make bread and sell it. I think there's some really fascinating the way we inspire disruptive change in the economy. I think we've got to get out there and get more people thinking about that. I think there's some great examples here of people who've taken a plunge, taken a risk, and actually gone out and done it. And I think back, just commit, just do it. But I think it's about getting those big stories out there.
Yeah, sometimes I think we don't know what we don't know, and by listening to different stories of success, and I think everybody in this room's got good stories of success, you start to share a wealth of knowledge and experiences, which is more real life. And yes, there are differences between what Lindsey and Gabi and Brett and Eloise and Alistair is doing, but due to the differences, I think we learn. And I agree with Sarah and Gareth that we probably need to tell these stories more than just occasionally on a Tuesday evening, so that we inspire each other with the stories that we're telling. I think we've got enough negative stories, so we can park that for a moment and then just go on to the positive story. Lindsey?
I suppose I was just going to say, you talk about risk. I mean, I don't know what other people feel, but I suppose for me, I think it's less of a risk to do what I've done. Because for my life, I feel I would be more risky to sort of suppress the energy to want to do things than just to get on and do it. Yeah, if it hadn't worked, well, nobody's going to die, so that's all right. But actually, I think one of the things that's a real sadness is when people spend a lot of time waiting for tomorrow. In certain circumstances, things might be better, then I'll do it. And you think, actually, why don't we just jump in and try? Because we would probably all share the feeling that actually we get huge amounts out of what we do. We're really lucky. We do fantastic jobs that give us huge satisfaction. And I suppose that's the message I would want from people is just get on with it, because actually you'll have a much better time.
It's kind of this big myth, isn't there, about entrepreneurship and risk taking. It's like the way you characterise it in the press. It's just, actually, to me, it's the other way. Entrepreneurs who start businesses want to avoid risk. You want to to work. It's thinking about. There's ultimately that plunge, but I think everyone said it, isn't it? It's just kind of. I'm quite taken by the practical steps. Everyone's here has sort of been really practical about it. Just got on and done it and tried things, and things have failed, and things haven't worked, but they've just done it. And I think that's. I hear a lot from entrepreneurs. I speak to a lot of people who've got startup ideas in their head, and just say, what is stopping you to try it? It just frustrates sometimes.
But what you're saying there as well, I think it's a community of people. Some people just need to talk to others, and maybe we all in this room's got that obligation actually to talk to one other person that's not in our circle of friends, to tell him about what we're doing and start providing that type of positive energy into the market. The way that innovation is breeding innovation, I think success or energy is creating more success and energy. And I also love the emphasis that you all had on, yes, it is the value that I'm going to add. I think the greed factor became too much over time, where profit maximization becomes the end goal, and nothing actually works because you just want to make money and you don't worry about the needs of the people that you're addressing. again, a common good issue. Sarah?
And it's great to be in a place where the City Council recognises that as well. And everybody has spoken about the investment and support from the City Council. I think the social enterprise city is a huge thing for us in Plymouth, and something to be commended.
Right, I think that brings us on to the point where two questions from my back, sorry.
So the first question is coming on Twitter. I'm just trying to get my mic to work and it appears not to be working, so I'm going to stand by the stand over there. The first question is coming from someone called Plymouth Pound. After doing some research online, it looks as if they're trying to instill a similar currency in Plymouth, or some political parties are. And the question is how you feel about this, so sustaining local enterprise. It looks like it might be something to do with the Green Party specifically, because I did a little bit of Googling in case it was just something odd. But it's in regards to your feelings of a Plymouth Pound, similar to what they've done in Bristol.
Plymouth Pound, anybody with an immediate idea such as Gareth? For throwing water all over the place.
I don't know enough about how the Bristol Pound and the Totnes Pound works. I think the idea, behind that is another idea, which is a bank of Plymouth, a sort of community bank, which is expanding the credit union, which I think is a really interesting idea. Yeah, I mean, an exchange system, the way you sort of keep money in the community, I think there's really lots of evidence about local multiplier effects affecting local economies being really positive and developing local economies, and if we get a pound we identify with, I can see the benefits. I don't know the ins and outs and the workings of how a pound works, and certainly don't know about the success or failure of other examples, but I think it sounds like an interesting idea, it's worth exploring.
Anybody else? Maybe it's any ideas like a normal idea where you need to go through what you've gone through. Try it out.
I suppose that's the bit that I don't quite understand, is I can sort of see the logic within a community. I suppose the interesting bit though, which is also that particularly, well, not just in Plymouth, but in lots of places, one of the issues with social enterprise is that they tend to start, more commonly start in poorer communities. So actually what you want is to be bringing in spend from other places, and therefore sort of moving the economy around. I don't quite know how that works if you have a very locally based currency. But I mean, the principle's really interesting.
So again, if you adhere to value creation and value adding to the people around you. Second question. And Emily is running to the mic.
Second question is from the webinar again, and it's from Alex Houston, and it's aimed at everyone in the panel. And the question she's asked is, what were the lows your social enterprises have faced, and how did you overcome them?
Say again?
What were the lows your social enterprises faced as businesses, and how did you overcome them?
I can see Alistair is really
Trying to answer that one, I'd say all the lows have been blurred out by the highs.
Oh, okay. That's a good answer, Eloise.
Oh God. I don't know. Come back to me in a minute.
Okay.
I think we have lows and highs due to the nature of our core activity. We've been working with kids who've been excluded from school.
Yeah.
So I was telling someone the other day, in a single sort of couple of hour period, we were just amazed by an act of kindness from one of the toughest kids that we work with. And half an hour later, another one got arrested stealing from the car.
Yeah.
So it's just like a roller coaster now.
Yeah. Well, that's life as well.
That's what it is.
Rick?
I can't comment too much about the lows because I'm on a massive high. I've only been working with Gareth for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Okay.
But there's just loads of energy, so and there's great things that we do. So
Right. Gabi?
Well, we've had a couple of really massive lows in recent years, in that 2 of our founder members died unexpectedly, and that was quite hard to deal with, because with the 27 artists working in one building, you do become quite a close community. But then, I suppose at times like that, you do tend to sort of draw together. You know, a lot of people, when they heard about these things, sort of ended up in Flameworks, sort of trying to work out how do we deal with this, where do we go as an organisation, and how do we move on. So it's horrible, obviously, but it does kind of bring people together.
Yeah.
But hopefully that's not a low anyone else will experience. Just
Lindsey?
lucky.
I've been quite a few. I suppose, I mean, the sort of interesting stuff is the really big challenges, not actually so much with Bakehouse, but with other areas in Rio. You know, we had a big contract that went completely disastrously wrong, lost a load of money. In some ways, those are, they're sort of huge, but they do bring you back to actually nobody died and it wasn't so awful. So I think there's always an ability for us to be able to sort of you just go one step at a time and you go, okay, so it's not quite worked. But hey, you know, there's loads of positives, and all the positives you talk about, you know, particularly from people who come back to you and say amazing things. And so lots of things to do with young people who positively commented on stuff, and also people who, particularly in the renovation of the building and the column, who've just talked about the fact that it's made them believe again that where they live is actually an okay place to live. And that's very, you know, you can't bottle that, you know, that's brilliant. You know, you go home thinking, actually, it's pretty good.
Gabi?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's what tends to really bring you back up, because I find often, I mean, because I'm in Flameworks every day, you know, I'm used to sparks flying everywhere and things like that. And it's when members of the public come in, and when we're working with someone, and you suddenly get people going, oh my God, this is amazing. And then you stand back and go, oh, hang on, it is quite good, isn't it? So it's that feedback.
Yeah, so
that
just
brings you back up.
to get feedback from different objects. Claire?
Directly in relation to the Bakehouse, I think the biggest low was spending the time and to build the brand and the product and investing in that, you know, emotionally, wholeheartedly, and then reaching that kind of, when you think you're on that pinnacle of it just going okay, and you're going to go down the other side, and then losing your head baker. And then, your kind of work falls apart, and you have to really pull from deep within you to get through that and do whatever it takes to do that. But I think, again, it does make, every time someone takes the trouble to come through our door and buy some bread or have a cup of tea, then it makes that so much more worthwhile. Every time I see the brand on a bag, or I see our stalls set up at a market, or we have someone who's really enjoyed a baking class, that makes it all worthwhile.
Last word of wisdom from you, Gareth?
Loads.
Yes? No, not wisdom on loads.
I
I don't want that wisdom.
I can tell you what my load is a couple of days a bit. So running our business here at Iridescent, we've had things like, we've gone for a tender, we've really wanted to do the work and we're really passionate about it, we've not won it, that's too bad. But the worst one I've had for me was when, it's really mundane, but it was when we had to get an overdraft from the bank. I just suddenly felt like an awful failure. I went to business and I had to go, and I was running out with 1 month, a couple of months, it was really tight, wanted to pay the bills, pay the salaries, and to go to the bank and say, can I have an overdraft, felt like a really, really bad thing to have to do. I thought, oh God, I can't manage the business, But profitable businesses can go bust because of cash flow. By talking to the bank and talking to suppliers and other people, you can get around that, and it's come back out the other side. And it's just felt like an awful situation. But you can manage that effectively.
Analogy is always a bank. Have always felt to me like a dentist. I don't love going to dentists, so the banker was the same when I was still in my business. And we've got a last question.
So I'm going to run over again.
Right.
This question's from Pam Cole, and it's asking, what can the EU do to support social enterprises more funding-wise?
Small question. We need to tell Pam that's a really incredible good question. And I'm going to look at the two networks around me. So, Gareth, you knew that this call was coming your way.
Okay, what can you do to support it? Okay, so social entrepreneurs and social enterprises keep telling us. So, as chair of the Social Enterprise Network, and most people here I think are members of the network, and things like the Social Enterprise Investment Fund have come about because of the work of the network and Social Enterprise City. What our members tell us, there are 3 things they really need. One is marketing support, access to finance, and help with their social impact. And the work we've been doing with Plymouth University around business growth as well has shown also things like building partnerships and IT platforms to grow. So there's some obvious areas there that the EU could invest in to help social entrepreneurs. I think there's more work to do around leadership within social enterprises and about sort of boosting the whole sort of, getting back to that thing about public awareness, getting people to get it across people's radar. There's more we can do. I mean, the council fund in Plymouth is a brilliant example of how an investment fund that's got a mixture of grants and loans and flexibility can work. There's lots of social investment out there that doesn't seem to get to social enterprises. I think the EU could take some more risks around getting more innovative funding and finance. Look at community shares, what Alistair's done. Great way of, getting community ownership and things. I'm sure the EU could bankroll and support more of that as well. More research, more academic research. There's not enough academic work in social enterprise. Oh, I don't know, where do we start?
I think there's also something which is quite interesting about the fact that in Europe, what social enterprise needs across Europe is really, really different all across. Yeah. So there is something which is really towards what Gareth is saying about how does this become a sort of mainstream way of doing business, that without creating sort of unhelpful limitations, because I do think it needs to be flexible and quite broad, there is something about just telling a story, or roughly the same story, of what social enterprise is and what it means. And the EU could do a lot, and could do a lot in terms of encouraging all the national governments to properly value it and to think about it in that sort of way, because that would help quite a lot. But our experience, having said that, is that it's actually quite a big UK export, and there's a lot of interest from people in. At the moment, we're getting a lot of inquiries from Eastern Europe, bizarrely, to want help, because actually there is a lot of enthusiasm. So actually spreading the message would be a great thing we could do.
I think let's end the questions here, and for Judith to summarise in detail. Oh, sorry.
This is just a generic request. We hold corporate hospitality, so the Fireworks, MTV, and the majority of businesses aren't social enterprises that we invite, so it's a call out that if you're trying to court any big social enterprises from out of Plymouth, let me know, and then we can invite them down for hospitality.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Jane. Well, it's my job to wind up this evening and thank everybody who's participated, not only on the night, but also, as you've seen, taken time out in their own workspaces to make these really amazing videos, which we'll now be uploading to our social enterprise platform, and so will be available for people to see potentially forever. Quite a thought, isn't it?
It certainly felt like forever when I was watching.
So thanks to everybody who's here. Thanks to everybody who's not here but has asked some really interesting questions, and I know have been online listening and watching us intermittently, I have to say, because of the state of the microphones. But there we are. I'd also like to say, before you leave, please have some more lovely food. I see we've got quite a lot left. Some from the bakery, some from Rumpus Cozy, so enjoy yourselves and thank you so much. We hope to make this kind of event a pretty regular event here at Futures, so look out for them. And you're definitely on our databases now, so there is no escape. Thank you very much.
Thank you.